So today's focus is going to be on bringing order to your personal financial planning. And part of what we're going to look at is how do we frame those decisions with a time horizon framework. And so as we do that, some of the key things we're going to be focusing on is how do we get that financial clarity that can come from structure and not overcomplicating it. But also, we want to make sure that you have that framework by which you can organize decisions across these different time horizons. What we find is most leaders are exceptional at managing complexity in their careers, but when it comes to their personal finances, even the most capable people can feel scattered, reactive, or unsure about what deserves attention first. And it's not because they're doing anything wrong, it's because traditional financial planning doesn't give leaders a way to organize decisions over time. Everything feels urgent and important, which ultimately creates pressure. Well, today we're going to walk through a simple but practical framework that helps you bring order to your financial life by separating what's urgent, what's important, and what matters that can wait over time. And as we do that, we're going to see that it's that same structure that we use with all of our clients to help them make clearer decisions, reduce stress, and build long-term confidence. Well, part of what we see is why leaders feel financial pressure is traditional planning feels fragmented. And what we find there is with that fragmentation, it feels like they're solving one-off solutions. And what we try to do with our approach at Forte Impact is we look across all the different dimensions of who they are as an individual. There's the personal side of it, which may deal with some of the risk planning, and that may be everything from insurance to tax positioning to debt structures to having a flexible capital. But we also take a look at what are going to be the asset accumulation goals. Are we saving for college? Are we saving for retirement, a business expansion, next house, whatever that may be? We also then look across some of the asset distribution strategies. If someone's looking at a traditional retirement, they may have a 30-year distribution cycle. But we also do see folks that may have an early retirement where they may be wrapping up their career in their 30s or 40s, and we may need a 60 or even a 70-year distribution cycle for folks. So we look at that. We also look at how it ties in with their business. One of the key goals of the business, right, is to support the personal side of our lives and what that enables for us and our families and those close to us. So we'll see that, but also philanthropy planning, perhaps some of their creative planning around intellectual property or other pursuits that they may have, a lot of estate planning, and then also if there's even like a multinational or other types of more complex and family office types of planning. We want to look across all those dimensions and say, how do we know that there is an integrated strategy in the same way a business leader looks at that across the integration of all their sub-elements of their businesses. And what we see there is there's that missing ingredient of how to have that way to sequence the decisions instead of reacting to everything at once. So as we look at that, we start to look at the time horizon framework as a way of framing what those different financial decisions may be. And we look at that across three different time horizons. And the first time horizon we're looking at is really in the short term. And that next, 1 to 2 years maybe, what are we seeing as those key themes? And a lot of that is going to be around stability, that ability to have responsiveness should there be the unusual circumstances that arise. But we also need flexibility and agility. And what really belongs in this category are going to be the decisions that focus around what are our liquidity needs going to be? Do we have major investments in the business? Are there home renovations we need to do? Are we getting ready to send kids off to college or start helping with aging parents? If we sense that there's going to be that really immediate need for liquidity, then we start to frame those decisions and say what needs to be covered and how much and at what time frames. But we also look at lifestyle choices. Again, we have a client right now that's in the process of moving from Hawaii to Europe. And that's something we look at those kinds of lifestyle choices and say, how do we account for those different kinds of cost of living as well as health insurance benefits and a wide range of other things. We also see transitions, and these transitions may be, for example, kids are about to become independent and on their own. So we now may be stepping into an empty nest situation. So do we really need the same house? Are we looking at career location change, those kinds of things? But also we're looking at risk reduction. And part of the reason we put that in the immediate term is there's a lot of things that we can solve for over time, but we don't know certain things when they're going to happen. When is a health change going to come? When a job might be eliminated? When there might be a need for some emergency level of investment? And so we want to tackle those things that especially can be catastrophic risk, say like in the event of a death or a disability or a chronic illness developing. We want to solve for those because it doesn't matter what the time horizon is. If somebody said, hey, I had $1,000 I could put towards an investment or $1,000 I could put towards risk mitigation, we're probably going to lean more heavily in this short-term phase to say, let's take catastrophic risk off the table because $1,000 over the course of the next year, should something be a material change like a health circumstance or a death in the family, $1,000 over that year, maybe I can get it to $1,100 or $1,200 if we have some savvy investments. But realistically, that extra $100, $200 isn't going to make a difference in the long-term trajectory. So that's where we take a look at where is there something there where we could take that $1,000 as an example and use that to solve multi-million-dollar risk in some cases. and do that differentially. So when we get that kind of clarity around what those different decision points may be in the short term, it can really help reduce the emotional decision making that oftentimes comes along with those types of decisions, such that we can now say, okay, here's why these things are bubbling up to be more important and why we need to solve them now.